Tonight, a 4-year-old girl and her father are found dead at the base of a cliff in Milton.
You know, it's just truly unimaginable, and we're all just still struggling to process this.
Police say based on their injuries, it looks like the two somehow fell. Plus,
it blew my mind because I thought that this was already put to bed.
Toronto Raptors president Masai Ujiri is facing a lawsuit over a scuffle at last year's NBA championship. And if you were planning on taking the Via to Montreal or Ottawa tomorrow, you're out of luck. Protesters blocking the tracks have forced train cancellations for the 5th straight day. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. The family of a 4-year-old girl and her father are grieving tonight, the day after their bodies were found at the bottom of an escarpment in a popular conservation area in Milton. The two were reported missing last night after they didn't return home from a hiking trip. Greg Ross spoke with the girl's mother.
Kira loved to dress up, so she wanted to wear, like, I'm a total tomboy, but this girl, she loved to be fancy. She loved her fancy shoes. She loved her, her princess dresses. She loved to do her hair in little bows, with family.
An emotional Jennifer Kagan shows pictures of her 4-year-old daughter, Kira, who was found dead yesterday, along with her biological father, Robin Brown.
She was on an access visit with her father, yes. She was in his care this weekend.
But Kagan says she received a call from Halton Police yesterday, notifying her that Kira and her father had been reported missing after going to spend the day at Rattlesnake Point Conservation Area in Milton.
So it is our understanding the father and daughter attended there for a hike at somewhere between 2:30 and 3 p.m. and were due back at 5:30. And when they did not return, we were contacted shortly after about 7:30 p.m.
Police would not confirm who made the missing persons report, but after searching for several hours, they found the bodies of Kira and her father.
So the victims were located at the base of the escarpment. There were significant trauma on the victims that could be consistent with a fall.
It's every parent's absolute worst nightmare. It still feels like a nightmare. I pinch myself thinking, I'm going to wake up from this, and you don't.
Police are now looking for any witnesses who were at Rattlesnake Point yesterday evening. And while police are not calling it a homicide, the homicide unit has taken over the investigation.
I just spent quite a few hours with the homicide detectives, and they are thoroughly investigating. They have assured me that they are investigating.
Kira was a student at Bialik Hebrew Day School in Thornhill. Today, the school sent out a statement that said, "We offer our sincere condolences to the family. School counseling services are being made available to students to provide the necessary support." Kira was supposed to return home to her mother, stepfather, and 9-month-old brother Joseph today. Kagan says, tragically, he will never really know his big sister.
You can see the way she holds this little baby. Like, she always wanted to hold him and touch him and connect with him every morning.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Thornhill.
Well, there's no school for elementary students in public boards tomorrow as the Elementary Teachers Union is holding another province-wide one-day strike. Now, for students in Halton and Durham, it would actually be the second strike of the week. Those teachers walk off the job today. Teachers in Toronto and Windsor will hold a second strike day on Wednesday, and teachers in Peel and York will follow with their own second day of job action on Thursday. That's also when teachers in the French school boards will hold their first province-wide strike. Well, as the job escalations continue, some students say they're being put in the middle of the fight between teachers and the government. The Toronto Catholic District School Board canceled a major high school swim meet, it says, due to teachers' Work to Rule campaign. Farah Morelli has more.
This is SJPII, which is our school, and then just swim team.
For Kiara Alcantara, swimming is life.
I started to learn how to swim, I think at maybe 10 months old. So I've kind of been doing this thing my whole life.
She's captain of the team at St. John Paul II High School and practices twice a day. Last week, she learned the swim meet of the season, the TDCAA, was being canceled.
My immediate reaction was just complete shock, because this is the meet that we all work for the entire season. It's the meet that lets us qualify for OFSA, which is basically the biggest meet that we know of that we can go to as a school.
When you hear that this meet is being canceled because of the teachers union's job action. How does that make you feel?
It's really disappointing, especially since they say that they're fighting for us. And it to me personally, it hurts because I worked, as well as the rest of our team, we all worked really hard for it to just be taken away from us.
Last week, OECTA announced it was stepping up administrative job action. In a statement, it denied any extracurricular activities are being affected, but the Toronto Catholic District School Board says part of their new job action prevents teachers from dispersing their kids, and they had no choice but to cancel the swim meet.
And essentially what that means is students that would not be attending a swim meet would be dispersed into another teacher's classroom. And one of the job actions is saying not to do that, so not to accept dispersed students. So it really makes it difficult to know what to do with those students.
For Kiara, that's the end of the road for this year's swimming season. There are no more meets. She has this message for both sides in the dispute.
It just hurts being stuck in the middle of something that we can't control and something that we never really asked for.
Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
The clock is officially ticking towards a potential job action involving garbage collectors on the east side of Toronto. The city received a so-called no board report from the Labour Ministry today, starting the countdown to February 27th. That's the day CUPE Local 416 could be locked out by the city, or the union could legally go on strike. It represents outside workers, including garbage collectors east of Yonge Street and some recreation staff there. The city says issues include job security, wages, benefits, and parental leave. The union is accusing the city of misleading the public. The Toronto Raptors president Masai Ujiri is facing a new lawsuit tonight over that alleged shoving incident with a police officer just moments after the NBA won the Raptors won the NBA championship in June. Now, while the police never filed charges, the officer is now seeking civil damages, making some bold claims about Ujiri and MLSE. Natalie Danowski has more.
It was a big moment for Canada's team. The Raptors winning the NBA championship in San Francisco in June. Raps president Masai Ujiri rushed down to the court to celebrate. He was stopped by police officer Alan Strickland, who claims he didn't see Ujiri's credentials. An altercation ensued. Most of it was caught on tape. Now Strickland is suing Ujiri and the team, claiming everything that happened caused and continued to cause the plaintiff great mental, emotional, psychological, physical, and nervous pain and suffering. And such injuries resulted in permanent disability. Raptors fans don't buy it.
I don't know what lawyer called him and convinced him into doing that, but
money grab, that's all it is.
Jay Rosales, co-host of a Raptors podcast, agrees. Following a lengthy investigation, a U.S. court decided not to file any criminal charges against Ujiri.
It was dismissed in October, so you figure, okay, hands are clean and let's go on our merry way.
Fast forward 4 months and Strickland's civil suit claims he hasn't been able to work after Ujiri assaulted him.
He doesn't have a mean bone in his body, but at the same time, it's where it's coming from. There are a lot of racial undertones.
There are phrases in the legal document that paint Ujiri as a violent person who should come with a warning. The suit even targets the Raptors and MLSE, claiming they knew or should have known Ujiri had a violent predisposition and propensity for physical violence. MLSE reacted to the suit, saying, "We are disappointed but not at all surprised Mr. Strickland has elected to take this path. His claims are baseless and entirely without merit."
That just has all the red flags to me, and I wouldn't be surprised if Masai turned around and filed a defamation suit. I mean, this is attacking his character.
No word yet on what Ujiri is going to do. He's currently in Africa with Justin Trudeau, trying to help the Prime Minister get a seat on the UN Security Council. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
Carla Kennedy's here with her first look at the forecast, and I think we'll want to focus on this early forecast. Maybe not the stuff coming in a couple days.
Yeah, we are talking about the next couple of days with not a lot of active weather and temperatures running above seasonal. So we'll kind of hang on to that for as long as we can, Mike. There it is. But incoming Thursday, even Wednesday night, in fact, the next system will move in, and that's when we'll see some active weather with snowfall, and then a late week extreme drop in our temperatures, which will be something to really adjust to. We've been seeing clouds increasing, and we'll see some of that cloud cover then hanging in for tomorrow, so it looks like maybe just some sunny breaks. As well, later on in the day, with the winds picking up, they're going to get a little bit breezy coming in from the west. We'll start to see some light squalls developing, and some of those flurries or a little bit of light precipitation could make it down towards the GTA. But again, that's kind of into tomorrow evening. And then high pressure carves its way in here into Wednesday. So the day starts off quiet and with sun, but by the night, everything begins to change. I'll go into more detail on that system that's going to be moving in a little bit later in the show. I will give you now your forecast for tonight. -5, feeling like -9. This is well above seasonal. It should be around -10, by the way. And tomorrow afternoon, 2 to 3 degrees for the high. But again, just getting a little breezy there into the afternoon, Mike.
Okay, thanks a lot, Colette.
You're welcome.
Via Rail is confirming tonight it is making plans for another day of disruptions to its service to Ottawa, Kingston, and Montreal. All trains booked before 2 p.m. tomorrow have already been canceled. That's due to an ongoing protest that is blocking tracks just outside of Belleville. Now, that blockade, created by Mohawks from Tyendinaga, is meant to show solidarity with pipeline protesters in BC. Our Natalie Kalata spoke with affected travelers today.
Dozens of passengers this morning had little choice but to trade in their train ticket for a bus ride. For some, like Michelle Roline, there's more at stake.
And I was concerned, perhaps I'm going to lose my job.
Roline was in Toronto visiting her daughter. When the protests started this weekend, she was trapped and couldn't get out.
We're just innocent people just going about our lives. A lot of us need to go back home to work, and we're just stuck here.
Protesters near Belleville blocked the tracks again today to show solidarity with BC demonstrators. They're opposing the construction of a pipeline that crosses the Wet'suwet'en territory. RCMP officers in BC have arrested people for breaching a court injunction. An injunction order to remove protesters from the site near Belleville has been granted, but so far no one has been arrested, and demonstrators today are standing their ground.
The big thing about Native people is we're people of the land. And if we don't stand up now and start looking after our land, there's going to be nothing left for any people.
Via Rail says the coordinated protests in Ontario affected trains traveling from Montreal to Toronto, Toronto to Ottawa, and Toronto to Kingston. As of noon Sunday, 92 trains across the country have been cancelled, impacting more than 16,000 people. Leaving many in Toronto today scrambling to find another way home, and some struggling with why.
I was a little bit mad at first, but then I started to read about it and I figured, well, okay, kind of understand their point.
I had to scramble to get away there. There's no flights available, so here I'm getting on the bus.
Protest is protest, that's fine. It's just I wish that we knew more and it was a bit predictable.
And no one can predict when it might all end.
It could go on as long as it needs to.
Now, in a statement to CBC News, Via Rail says they will notify passengers 3 hours ahead of time whether or not their trains have been canceled. They'll also automatically refund those affected and encourage all passengers to check online for updates. Natalie Kalata, CBC News, Toronto.
Attention drivers, your auto insurance is set to go up by as much as 11%. That's despite a promise by the Premier to reduce premiums. We'll break down the numbers when we come back. Ontario health officials say they are ramping up their monitoring of the coronavirus. They say that's out of an abundance of caution and that the risk from the virus in the province remains low.
As far as our monitoring, we're going to be at this for certainly for the next month anyways, as we continue to monitor and be persuaded that it actually is abating and going down, and that we can ease off some of our methods there.
I mean, we, had the experience of SARS where we let it go, and then it was there, and that was very unfortunate, and we're not going to let that happen again.
Officials say they are still just 3 confirmed cases of the coronavirus in this province. They're currently investigating 8 other potential cases. They also say they are closely watching the situation with the virus in China to see if the government's attempts at containing it are successful. Many Ontarians will have to pay hundreds of dollars more this year for their car insurance. Average rates will be going up by about 1.5%, but for some, it could be much higher. The provincial regulator has approved rate hikes for about 20 insurance companies. Philippe de Montigny explains.
Tracy Ann Yacoub needs to dish out an extra $244 in car insurance this year, even though her driving record hasn't changed.
I can't understand why our rates have jumped 11%. It's frustrating because there's nothing I can do about it.
Ontario drivers spend on average $1,500 a year on auto insurance. In the GTA, depending on where you live, you could be paying as much as $1,000 more, like in Brampton.
In that postal code area, then your rates go up automatically. And it has nothing to do with your driving record, it's just because of where you live.
We pay some of the highest premiums across the country for the lowest level of benefits.
Those benefits, she says, have been eroding over the years as the previous Liberal government tried to reduce premiums. Even the NDP back in the 90s got elected on a promise to make auto insurance public. But Premier Bob Rae backtracked once in power.
It will cost too much money, and it will cost too many jobs.
We understand industry is looking for a profit, but that shouldn't be done at the expense of consumers.
This personal injury lawyer wants the government, for one, to get rid of what she calls a secret deductible.
The first $40,000 of your compensation claim goes to the insurance company of the driver that hurt you. People don't know that. So if you go to trial and the jury gives you $40,000 for pain and suffering, odds are you're going to get zero.
She also believes private insurers should disclose their profits.
We're going to find out there's a lot of profit there, enough to bring down premiums and restore some benefits to injured people.
The Insurance Bureau of Canada says the current regulated system has not benefited consumers or insurers. Premiums remain expensive, and insurers have continued to pay out more in claims and expenses than they earn in premium. The Ford government says there's no silver bullet that will quickly put the brakes on rate hikes. The PCs say their plan could take years to work, but they hope to get it right this time. Philippe de Montigny, CBC News, Brampton.
Here's a live shot of the Toronto skyline. A nice mild start to the week, but come Friday, oh boy, does the cold return. Colette is back after the break with all the details.
The weather update is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
The Raptors hosting the Timberwolves tonight. Toronto looking for their 15th straight win tonight. Shades of Kawhi here. Kyle Lowry puts up the three. It bounces 4 times before going in. Love that play. Minnesota rallies in the second. Angelo Russell making his debut for the team, hitting a nice 3 right here. It led at the half, but Toronto would come out hot out of the break. Lowry to Anunoby for a nice slam here. Follow that later. Fred VanVleet with a slick pass. Rondae Hollis-Jefferson throws it down. Raptors go on to win this with a 137-126 final. That's their 15th straight win, which actually sets also a new Canadians pro sports winning streak, moving past the Calgary Stampeders. Colette Kennedy's back with her extended forecast, but we'll want to focus on the next couple days because that's where the good stuff is, right?
Yeah, let's live in the moment here, Mike, and talk about our weather for the next few days where we are not really seeing any active weather. We may have some light flurries late in the day tomorrow, and the winds are going to pick up, but that's about it. In terms of snowfall, the record, by the way, it's been holding since 1959, and it's not that significant, right around 10 centimeters. Now, we may be seeing something close to that when we get a little later in this week towards Thursday. So I'm going to run into the details with that. I just want to show you the temperatures, though. The daytime highs across Ontario, other than the nation's capital, all the cities you're seeing here above freezing. So -1 for Ottawa, otherwise 3s and even some 4 degrees showing up today. This is what's going on, though. One system well to the south of us, but we do have some of this cloud cover in place, and we hold on to that into tomorrow. So maybe some sunny breaks, but not the kind of sunshine that we had through much of the day today. Then some flurries begin to develop because the westerly wind's getting stronger, so even some light squall activity, but some of those flurries could get down to the GTA, very, very light in nature. That's taking us through Tuesday, but we've got some very cold air that wants to move in. High pressure clearing our skies out. We start off Wednesday. Temperature comes down a little bit, nothing too significant because that front is still back to the northwest of us. But we see this next system and this moisture to the south coming up. It's going to be combining with that cold air, and that's a scenario for a wintry type storm. So overnight Wednesday into Thursday, we'll see that snow developing, and then through much of the day Thursday, that's not going to be a great travel day. You'll want extra time for the morning and likely the afternoon commute as well, because at this time looking at 4 to 8, 5 to 10 centimeters. We'll keep honing that as we get closer to the event. But something as important isn't just the snow coming in, is going to be the very cold air that's going to move in behind that system. So Thursday night into Friday, wait till you see those temperatures. Here are the temperatures overnight tonight for southwestern Ontario, still above seasonal, -4, and then highs tomorrow, 3 to 4 degrees with quite a bit of cloud cover. Into the GTA, we fall to -5, -6 for you in Markham, -4 for St. Catharines, and the cloud cover into tomorrow. Late day, a few flurries certainly possible, but these readings are still very, very pleasant and comfortable. And then as we go towards Wednesday, I say it comes down a little bit. Then Thursday with the snow event, Thursday night into Friday, -16 or colder. Friday's high, -10, and overnight Friday into Saturday, -18, maybe even dropping to -20. So we'll likely see some warnings go into play towards the end of the week for that cold, just because of the switch up that we're not used to.
Absolutely. That's an incredible drop. Okay, thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Still ahead, an ancient discovery in Alberta. A new species of tyrannosaur has been found, the oldest ever in Canada. More on what researchers are calling the Reaper of Death after the break. A new species of tyrannosaur with a really long name has been discovered in Alberta. It's actually the oldest ever found in Canada. Nicknamed the Reaper of Death, this species terrorized southern Alberta 11 million years before the T-Rex. Let me just try to pronounce this one for you. Thanatothrystis degruterum. It was as long as two cars lined up bumper to bumper and would have towered over an adult human. It would have been a fearsome predator 79 million years ago, likely preying on herbivores. Now, a University of Calgary researcher led the discovery. It's the first new tyrannosaur species to be found in Canada in 50 years. And I've been practicing that name all night long, Thanatothrystis degruterum. I feel like I'm casting a Harry Potter spell. Well, this week, Oscar Peterson's Africa Suite will get its world premiere. He wrote and recorded it back in 1983, but it's never been performed entirely in public until now. Tomorrow on Q, Tom Power speaks with Oscar's wife, Kelly Peterson, about why it's being performed this week. That's on CBC Radio 1 starting at 10. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.